few pages of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. I got a comment on my last video saying that someone read this book already. Don't know how you survived, but good for you. Okay. We are on page 24. How many pages are in this thing? 107, I guess. Okay. You said I was your cousin, George? Well, that was a lie. And I'm damn glad it was. If I was a relative of yours, I'd shoot myself. He stopped suddenly, stepped to the open front door, and peered out. Say, what the hell you doing listening? The old man came slowly in the room. He had a broom in his hand, and at his heels there walked a drag-footed sheepdog, gray of muscle, and with pale, blind, old eyes. The dog struggled lamely to the side of the room and lay down, grunting softly to himself and licking his grizzled, moth-eating coat. The swamper watched him until he was settled. I wasn't listening. I was just standing in the shade a minute scratching my dog. I just now finished swamping out the old wash house. You had spoken your big ears into our business, George said. I don't like nobody to get nosy. The old man looked uneasily from George to Lenny and then back. I had just come there, he said. I didn't hear nothing you guys was saying. I ain't interested in nothing you was saying. A guy on a ranch don't never listen nor he don't ask no questions. Damn right he don't, said George, slightly mollified. Not if he wants to stay working long. But he was reassured by the swamper's defense. Come on in and sit down a minute, he said. That's an hell of an old dog. Yeah, I had him ever since he was a pup. God, he was a good sheepdog when he was younger. He set his brim against the wall, and he rubbed his white bristled cheek with his knuckles. How'd you like the boss? He asked. Pretty good, seemed alright. He's a nice fellow, the swamper agreed. You got to take him right. At that moment, a young man came into the bunkhouse. A thin young man with a brown face, with brown eyes, and a head of slightly curled hair. He wore a work glove on his left hand like the boss. He wore high-heeled boots. Seen my own man? He asked. The swamper said. He was just here a minute ago. Curly. Went over to the cookhouse, I think. I'll try to catch him, said Curly. His eyes passed over the new man, and he stopped. He glanced coldly at George and then at Lenny. His arms gradually bent at the elbows and his hands closed into fists. He stiffened and went into a slight crouch. His glance was at once calculating and pugnacious. Lenny squirmed under the look and shifted nervously. Curly stepped gingerly close to him. You then, you guys the old man was waiting for. We just come in, said George. Let the big guy talk. Lenny twisted with embarrassment. George said, Suppose he don't want to talk? Curly lashed his body around. By Christ, he's gotta talk when he's spoke to. What the hell are you getting it into for? We travel together, said George coldly. Oh, so it's that way. George was tense and motionless. Yeah, it's that way. Lenny was looking helplessly to George for instruction. And you won't let the big guy talk, isn't it that? He can talk if he wants to tell you anything. He nodded slightly to Lenny. "We just come in," said Lenny softly. Curly stared levelly at him. "Well, next time, you answer when you're spoke to." He turned toward the door and walked out, and his elbows were still bent out a little. George watched him out, and then he turned back to Swamper. "See what the hell's he got on his shoulder? Lenny didn't do nothing to him." The old man looked cautiously at the door to make sure no one listening. "That's the boss's son," he said quietly. "Curly's pretty handy. He done quite a bit in the ring. He's a lightweight, and he's handy." "Well, let him be handy," said George. "He don't have to take after Lenny. Lenny didn't do nothing to him. What's he got against Lenny?" The Swamper considered. "Well, tell you what, Curly's like a lot of little guys. He hates big guys. He's all the time picking scraps with big guys. Kind of like he's mad at him because he ain't a big guy. You seen little guys like that, ain't you? Always scrappy." "Sure," said George. "I seen plenty of tough little guys. But this Curly better not make no mistakes about Lenny. Lenny ain't handy. But this Curly punk is gonna get hurt if he messes around with Lenny." "Well, Curly's pretty handy," the Swamper said skeptically. "Never did seem right to me. Suppose Curly jumps a big guy and licks him. Everybody says what a game guy Curly is. And suppose he does the same thing and gets licked. Then everybody says the big guy ought to pick on somebody his own size. And maybe they gang up on the big guy. Never did seem right to me. Seems like Curly ain't giving nobody a chance." George was watching the door. He said ominously, "Well, he better watch out for Lenny. Lenny ain't no fighter, but Lenny's strong and quick, and Lenny don't know no rules." He walked to the square table and sat down on one of the boxes. He gathered some of the cards together and shuffled them. The old man sat down on another box. "Don't tell Curly I said none of this. He'd slow me. He just don't give a damn. Won't ever get canned because his own man's the boss." George cut the cards and began turning them over, looking at each one and throwing it down in a pile. He said, "This guy Curly sounds like a son of a bitch to me. I don't like mean little guys. Seems to me like he's worse lately," says the Swamper. "He got married a couple of weeks ago. A wife lives over in the boss's house. Seems like Curly is cockier than ever since he got married." George grunted. "Maybe he's showing off for his wife." The Swamper warmed him to his gossip. "You seen that glove on his left hand?" "Yeah, I seen it." "Well, that glove's full of Vaseline." "Vaseline? What the hell for?" "Well, I tell you what, Curly says he's keeping that hand soft for his wife." George studied the cards absorbedly. "That's a dirty thing to tell around," he said. The old man was reassured. He had drawn a derogatory statement from George. He felt safe now, and spoke more confidently. "Wait till Sue carries Curly's wife." George cut the cards again and put out a solitaire, slowly and deliberately. "Pretty?" he asked casually. "Yeah, pretty, but..." George studied his cards. "But what?" "Well, she got the eye." "Yeah, married 2 weeks and got the eye? Maybe that's why Curly's pants is so full of ants." "I seen her give Slim the eye. Slim's a jerk-line skinner, hell of a nice fella. Slim don't need to wear no high heels boots on a grain team. I seen her give Slim the eye. Curly never seen it, and I seen her give Carlson the eye." George pretended a lack of interest. "Looks like we was gonna have fun." The Swamper stood up from his box. know what I think? George did not answer. Well, I think Curly's married a tart. He ain't the first, said George. There's plenty done that. The old man moved toward the door, and his ancient dog lifted his head and peered about, and then got painfully down to his feet to follow. I gotta be setting out the wash basins for the guys. The team's be in here, before long. You guys gonna book Barley? Yeah. You won't tell Curly nothing I said? Hell no. Well, you look over here, you look her over, mister. You see if she ain't a tart. He stepped out the door into the brilliant sunshine. George lay down his cards thoughtfully, turned his piles of 3. He built 4 clips on his ace pile. There we go. I'm gonna put down page 29. Rest to pick up on next time. Thank you so much for helping me out and reading this book with me. I'll see you another. Oh wait, gotta practice my new outro. Hold on. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace and love. Oh wait.